Faces and Voices of Recovery UK, and I'm also a person in long-term recovery. For me, that means that I haven't used alcohol or other drugs for over 22 years. Yeah, we really want to thank you for coming today on International Overdose Awareness Day. It's been a difficult event to organise, believe it or not. There's been a lot of resistance, and I'll let Natalie tell you a wee bit about that. But I just want to thank you. My job is to facilitate a space for this stuff to happen. We set up Favour UK in order to hear people's voices and to see the faces of recovery and to hear their voices. So I'm glad I'm doing my job today in creating this space and making sure that it happens. And I'm just going to pass you over to Natalie, who was the inspiration for the event last month. And Natalie called me. She gave me a call Sunday night to 11:30 at night. You know that way when somebody phones you and you go, fuck, it's 11:30, you fuck, I've got to answer it anyway because I give a shit. And I picked up the phone and she said, we've got to do something, and I don't know what we're doing, but we're asking for 50% representation, tiered representation in all the decision making tables, because at the moment we've got the same experts sitting in the same tables talking the same shit as what they have for 30 years. You need us, you need people in recovery at those tables, and you need no tokenistic people. You need people who know, who work in the system, who have came through the system, who are in long-term recovery to influence those tables and to bring new solutions to this crisis. So I'm just going to hand you over to Natalie. I hope you'll give her a big welcome, a big round of applause, because it's her inspiration, her pain that has brought us here today.
It's very hard to stand here today with a diplomatic approach. 5.5 months ago, the Drug Death Task Force was supposed to meet to offer us a solution in Scotland, to offer us better treatment in Scotland, to help with the homelessness in Scotland, yet nothing's been done. So for every 7 hours and 14 seconds while we delay, there's someone else dying. Why I come here angry today is, I work in Berlin prison and one of my prisoners got released yesterday at 9 o'clock yesterday morning. He was told to present at the homeless casework team where he would be suitably accommodated. This guy got out of prison with complex needs, with vulnerabilities, with nothing but the clothes he has on his back. For 9.5 hours he sat in the homeless casework team to be told at 4:30, we do not have a bed for you anywhere, but we can give you a sleeping blanket and you can sleep on the streets of Glasgow with no food, no compassion, no family, no love, just a cold concrete slab. That infuriated me last night. Again, at 11 o'clock last night, I'm trying to create a solution for someone because I fucking care. I care. I've watched the services in Glasgow divide the recovery communities, and it's unfair. We should stand here together, not divided. We reached out to the Scottish Drugs Forum and we asked them to stand here today with us for Overdose Awareness Day and hand out naloxone kits. SDF, where are you? You're not fucking here. Scottish Recovery Consortium, we asked you to support us. Where are you? You're not fucking here. 10 people came together with care and compassion. 10 people came together to try and fight this epidemic in Glasgow. And the 10 people that came together have put their hands in their pockets to financially pay for the last gathering. Thank you to Scottish families affected by drugs. They gave us a small grant to proceed with us today. So thank you to Scottish families. At the last gathering, I had just finished and came off the stage, and I found out that Phoenix Futures had lost all their residential beds for Glasgow clients. That is not acceptable. There are services closing down left, right and centre. My husband is going to be made redundant from Quarriers James Shields project. That is not acceptable when we don't have beds to accommodate the homeless. Now, if it wasn't for my guy getting out of prison, having the tools to manage this complex fucking situation that he is in, he would have died on the streets last night because his tolerance level is so low to drugs. And I can't stand here and say please and thank you and beg, and I'm sorry for swearing with the children here, but I am angry today. It's no longer acceptable. Please, all the services in Scotland and Glasgow, stop dividing the recovery communities. It's not okay. There should be enough funding for us all to work together in unity. And I'm going to leave it at that, and thank you all for coming.
This is my daughter. She was 16 years old when she died of a heroin overdose, and it took 12 hours for her to die. 12 hours. I don't know if my wee girl was shouting out for me. That's why I do what I do for a living, because I care. She's dead 20 years, but the pain in my soul is still here. And every single death that we heard a few months ago, 1,184 deaths of total despair, like me, and do you know what? I'm so proud with everybody standing here today, supporting each other, because there's a lot of love here. There's a lot of love. I'll never forget her. I gave birth to her. She's my first child, and I don't have her because of heroin. That's what I don't have her. And my family is disintegrating in front of my eyes because of what happened to her. So we're broken forever. We're broken forever. So her name's Michelle Kearney. She's 16 years old when she's dead, and she's in St Conville Cemetery if anybody ever wants to visit her. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm here with my mother today, Marlene Johnston, who's worked in this field for years and years. I latterly worked with families as well for a decade. 1995, this beautiful boy, my young brother Robert, 6'5", we were plunged into a nightmare world that at that time we knew nothing about. Robert had been very much a family boy. We'd last seen him on the Saturday night. By the Monday, he wasn't back up at my mum's. We searched, we reported him as a missing person. That wasn't taken seriously. 3 weeks later, we get that chap at the door. So, this beautiful boy had been left by a person or people rolled up in a carpet with his first heroin injection. And we, for years after it, went to every door we could. MPs, Euro MPs, councillors. We even were denied a meeting with the Lord Advocate Hardy at that time. There were more questions than answers, and I know our family was not isolated. We're not alone in this sad, tragic story. It's multiplied over the years. The drug death-related figures is absolutely, I've spoken about this before, it's a shame on a nation. These are everyone's children. This is our future, and this is what dross we're getting handed out. The latest figures are absolutely disgusting. But do you know that what, as a family member, the ripple effect that this has? Because see, when we were, I know how I felt as a sister. I was only 25 at the time. I'm watching my parents go through the most unimaginable nightmare. And in the middle of all that, trying to grieve, because you couldn't, going from the police to the procurator fiscal, getting lip service all the time. There was a 10-year-old boy. Joseph was my youngest brother. He was a late baby, and he was our world. And through that nightmare period, it was Joe that made us get up in the morning, that breathe every day. And the ripple effect this has in families. Through the years, Joe was crippled by acute anxiety. And 3 years ago in February, we lost him. And do you know, he'd only turned 31, and do you know what the mad thing is with all this disgusting cycle we're in? The mad thing is, we found ourselves being grateful because when Robert was taken from us, that person rolled him up in a carpet, denied us paying our proper respects to him, denied us holding his hand for the last time. We were grateful that my mother, at the time 67, found him in her room, tried to resuscitate him. We were grateful for that because at least we had him with us. So this breaks my heart that every year these drug-related death figures, and do you know what? Michelle's story, our story, is by far from common, and I feel now the time has to stop with the awful, tragic stories, because you know what? We all need to be political here. We need to be political and hold MPs to account, what MSPs to account. The UK government has got a lot to answer for with the denial, with the drug consumption rooms, the safer injection rooms. I'm glad Alison Poulis is here today because I know she's been quite outspoken in that fact. But please don't let it thwart. There's an awful lot that the Scottish Government can be doing as well. And I think we all need to be putting heat on the politicians and also on our local government, because as Natalie said, the services that you're hearing that deal with the most vulnerable in this city are now getting funding cut. There is money about, and we need to all get political and demand better from the services and politicians. Thank you.
So, thanks Alison for showing up.
Patrick Grady's here in audience.
Patrick Grady as well, thanks for showing up and representing Scottish Government. I'm a person in long-term recovery as well, and I've lost two of my best pals who were trying to access services, boys I went through school with. I've lost countless people in my recovery journey as well, who were totally bereft of getting treatment when they tried to access treatment services. And what I've seen in the last 10 years is the closure of abstinence-based recovery services, day programmes. The funding's been ripped right out of the heart of how we address this wicked problem in our culture. And one of the things I've been talking about for years is that trauma is the biggest driver for somebody ending up seeking relief in a substance in the first place. And in order to understand addiction, you need to understand the pain in people's lives. And this is not just me saying this, there's large-scale studies and research and data to show that trauma is the biggest predeterminating factor for ending up in addiction. If we've got some of the most traumatised individuals in our culture, and we expect for them just to rock up to a service and be parked on a methadone script and left on it for 10, 15, 5 years and expect that to be the solution to their dilemma, then we're complicit in their suffering. There's a study currently been done in countless countries called the Adverse Childhood Experience Study. You can look it up online, and what they're saying is the correlation between adverse childhood experiences and ending up in addiction is glaring. And if we're treating traumatised individuals and expecting to treat their trauma by leaving them parked on a prescription for 10, 15 years, an adverse childhood experience, they're saying in this study, is having a parent who's chemically dependent. If we're parking people on methadone and have got kids, we might indirectly be causing trauma. A lot of it's done unwittingly because it's misunderstood, and it's not about blaming anybody either, because people are just doing the best with the tools that they've got. But there's a lot of grief in Scotland now, because we're losing people. And with grief comes anger, and if you can't hold people in their anger, then you don't deserve them in their joy. You don't. So when a crowd like this comes today and expresses the pain and the suffering that they're trying to navigate, and other services show up because they don't want to hear our voices because we're angry, then do they really deserve to be at the table with our voice? So we need to ask ourselves, as a culture, stop looking at drugs as a problem. Drugs are a symptom of the problem. If you want to get down to causes and conditions, you need to look at the drivers of what causes addiction in the first place. Currently, treatment services in Scotland don't address trauma. Trauma gets a footnote. It gets a footnote. My own experience is I had to go to hospital, I had to be took out of the community. I didn't know that it was dead hard for me to recover in the community that I was living in, because that's the environment where I experienced the trauma. So when I tried to go at it alone and go at it with some of the treatments that were offered to me at the time, I struggled because I was getting triggered all the time. I didn't know that the environment was triggering my trauma, and that stress is the biggest cause of relapse. So if I'm being triggered, and I'm triggered into a stress response, then my mind's going to switch to what I know fixes it, and that was to go and seek relief in a substance. But fortunately enough, a service saw that I was worth a punt, and they gave me funding and sent me to a hospital in the Borders, a treatment centre, and I was diagnosed with having complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Is it the stuff that had happened to me that I never asked to happen? And the stuff I had to navigate while in active addiction, which is trauma in itself. When people are coming at you with weapons and you're trying to navigate a hostile environment, you're under constant stress and threat, that makes for more using. So if we're pulling the funding out of treatment centres and expecting people to rouse themselves from their lethargy and get returned to a state of health and well-being in the community that they were usually traumatised in, then we're fucking killing them. We're killing them. So we need to get our heads together and look at what we can do to return people to who they were supposed to be in the first place before the drugs get a hold of them, before the trauma get a hold of them. I'm a living, breathing example of what's possible, and I think that's why the lived experience voice needs to be at the forefront of how we tackle this grave issue. I've got my two Waynes here with me today. They've never seen me using drugs. They've never visited me in a prison. They've never seen me being violent in the house. They've never seen me beat their ma or be aggressive to their mas. They're getting brought up in a totally different paradigm. I've no broke the cycle. I've fucking rebooted it. I've rebooted the cycle. And see if I can do that, yous can do it, I know. And that's why we need to get together and put our heads together and stop fighting amongst each other. This is about what causes health and wellness. How can we bring our Waynes up in the safest country in the world so that they don't need to seek relief in a substance? Why is it everybody experiments with a drug or a wee drink or a wee fag doesn't become a drug addict or an alcoholic? Why is it? Drugs and alcohol's everywhere. Why is it that the people who experiment with it don't end up addicted in some day? Because the vulnerability to addiction comes in the person, not the fucking drug. We need to wake up to that. Addiction comes in you. The drug is but a symptom. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for caring. Because see, if we don't care, how can we expect them to care? Thanks.
Very hard act to follow, eh? Well done, James. Thanks very much for that. My name's Eddie Gorman. I'm a recovered addict. And the reason I say I'm a recovered addict today is because that merciless obsession that drove me all my life has been removed. I've tackled my addiction issues. And after tackling my addiction issues, I tackled the issues that was causing the addiction in the first place, the stuff that James was talking about. So I stand here today a free man of addiction. Yeah? An example that you can recover for this stuff, man. You can recreate your life. And it's so sad that we've all got to gather here today, and the reason we're here today, because I was here last month when they done the gathering last month, and I was listening to people telling their stories about the family members that they've lost. And you know, it was heartbreaking, but it was heartwarming at the same time. You see, when a group of people come together for the same reason, for the greater good, for a greater cause, something magical happens. And that's why we're here today. Yeah? I've lost family members to addiction. I work in this field today as well, and I've lost people who I work with as well. And the people that's been introduced a solution, and they couldn't accept it because the transition from the lifestyle they were living to live a clean life was just too much, because they couldn't tackle that stuff that James was talking about. They couldn't deal with that trauma, and it was overwhelming. And eventually we all go back to what we know. Everybody goes back to what they're comfortable with. So thanks very much everybody for turning up here today. Thanks for the committee for putting this together and getting us, because we need to get together. This is about unity. This is not about us being more individual in our services and our organisation, our projects, which we're absolutely inundated with, by the way, in Glasgow. We're so fortunate in Glasgow because we've got the solution to addiction in all sorts of different areas. I'm a great advocate of a 12-step abstinence-based programme, but the reality is I work with people who's not ready for a 12-step programme. So I don't disagree with ORT, I refer people to ORT, but there's got to be an end goal. The game has got to be to get the drugs down. To stop using drugs, you need to stop using drugs. But sometimes the transition has got to be supported with ORT. And I was listening to James speaking there as well. I work alongside the HAT team. The care manager who I work alongside today, who's an amazing guy, was a guy who supported James into treatment over 10 years ago. That guy's still doing the same work. So we talk about lived experience and we talk about professional experience. See the guy that's drowning in the sea and he's got his hand up like that? Do you think he cares about, see that hand that reaches out in the sea to drag him out? Do you think he cares where you learned that, your lived experience, you learned that as a professional? We're just happy to get dragged out, man, aren't we? So, my life today, everything I've got in my life today is because I got introduced to a solution. I mean, everything. And to keep what I've got, I just need to pass it on to the next person that's coming in. See if there's people in the crowds and you don't know about recovery, about any part of recovery. There's stalls over there. We've got cocaine. I'm a member of Cocaine Anonymous. We've got 400, there's 400 different fellowship meetings in this city alone. See if you've not been introduced to the solution, give her there and get it. And I was driving up the road, I'm back down in Ayrshire now, and I was driving up the road today and I hit a big puddle. And a rainbow appeared after this puddle. And it reminded me of an old thing that my mother used to say, old Rita used to say, rainbows appear after mighty storms, when things look their very worst. Just when the skies are dark as grey, look for the rainbows first. We're at really dark times where we are now with people, we're losing people to addiction. But there's tons of rainbows, man. And we need to tap into these rainbows. And we need to stop reducing funding for treatment centres. I work in this field. The best results I get people out of the hospital and take them straight into treatment. If you reduce the funding that, you're going to take away a great opportunity that I've got to supporting guys out of addiction. Get them into treatment. No, let them sit for a while, let them get their mindset back thinking properly again, and then introduce them to whatever solution you're going to be. Right now we're reducing funding for treatment centres. People are getting sacked for treatment centres when people of Scotland are dying in their droves. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why we're doing this. And unless the powers that be get together and get people like myself, I'll go to any table and I'll sit with any table and we'll have discussions, because I'm an expert in addiction. I don't say I'm an expert in much, but I'm an expert in addiction, and I'm also an expert in how to recover from addiction. And I'm also working in the field to support people with addiction. Why would you not want people like me sitting at your table? And I'm available to go anywhere, anytime, man. I think that's about it, guys. Listen, well done.
Eddie's quite cheap as well, whereas anytime, anywhere. I'm just going to introduce you to Ria Dinn, and after that we're going to have an open mic for anybody who wants to come up and talk and say anything about their loved one, or just offer their thoughts. Just to remind people, come and speak quite close to the actual mic. So Ria, if some of you will remember the Road to Recovery in 2009, it was the Scottish Government's policy, and Ria was one of the women who helped write it. And she recently wrote an article for The National that I think was entitled something along the lines of I helped write the Road to Recovery in Scotland and then watched it being ignored. And that was my introduction at that time. So just hand you over now to Ria Dinn.
great to be here today and see you all. It's an absolutely tremendous gathering, and absolutely, like me, no doubt you've had your heart ripped listening to the family stories, and it's so hard to hear that. I'd just like to say, could you give a round of applause to all the families that are here and all the lost children? We'll never forget them. I started my career over 30 years ago in the drugs field, before there really was a drugs field, and of course, you know, with all due respect, it was a terribly sexy field to be in at the time, believe it or not. You know, researchers flocked to it, people who wanted to build their careers flocked to it. You know, I earned a living for 30 years as a professional, but and people, you feel, are trying their best, but we're still, the fact that we're still here 30 years later talking about this issue, and that families still feel shut out of the debate and of the solution, is a disgrace, and I'm ashamed really that we're still at this point. I'm actually, I'm retired now, although I still do a bit of work here and there, including being a funeral celebrant, and I'm going to be officiating at a funeral for a young woman, 28 years old, who died of a drugs overdose 2 weeks ago, possibly 3 weeks ago. Tragically, was 2 weeks before she was found. I know this young woman through a friend of mine, but I also met her several years ago, and I share the sense of helplessness and, you know, unfairly for all of us, a sense of failure about not being able to save that young woman's life. I would just like to say it was always been a privilege to work with families and people who have had a drug problem. I learned everything I know about addiction from you. Every single thing. All right, I had family that had alcohol problems, but what did I know? And it's been a privilege at various points in my career, not only right up until last November, being able to work directly with people and push amongst my social work colleagues. You know, hearing phrases, and I hate to insult you by repeating them today, that it's a lifestyle choice, and shutting your children and yourselves out of all the legislation, mental health legislation, adult support and protection legislation, everything that might help, as well as the money that goes in. I have to say my mind is blown to hear that services are getting shut right across the board. I mean, there may be budgetary constraints, but listen, there is no reason not to do the job properly. So go forward in your heart today, gain strength from the wonderful integrity and values that you all have, that you all share with each other. I might have retired, I might be a pensioner in fact, but I will not, I can't give up fighting for people with addiction problems. I'm not trying to be in with anybody, I'm not trying to sound, you know, like some kind of virtuous person. To me, it's a human rights issue. People deserve to live. We must continue to fight, and people like me, who have some knowledge and who are able to write about it, I will not stop doing so. Thanks very much.
So, can I just invite you up to do a wee bit of speaking word, and if the families or if anybody who wants to say it, and just if you maybe form a wee queue on this side, because it's easier to get into, just come out here and line up. When you up.
See, just before this wee girl comes up, I just want to say thanks to all the government officials that are here and the guys for Labour that showed up today. We had a meeting with them a couple of weeks ago and they offered to support and they've showed up, so thank you.
To listen, we're hearing the real lives, the way these lives have been affected and changed, and that is a challenge to us, and it's so important that we are challenged. There's politicians from all different parties, from all different parliaments and councils here today, listening to what everybody has to say. And yeah, there's more politics going on the other side of George Square. And I think it's quite significant that so many people are down at this side listening to what's being said. And of course we're going to take these messages away. Of course we're going to make representation so that investment is made where it needs to be, so that the voices are heard in the decision-making process. And I really don't think I've got much more to say than that. I know my colleague Alison has worked incredibly hard on a lot of these issues. She represents the city centre, so she sees it on a day and daily basis, the challenge that this city and the country is facing. So I would like to invite her to show her solidarity with the group today as well.
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming here this afternoon. I think it's really important that we show this solidarity and this strength to one another. I want to thank everybody who has spoken so far for the stories that they've shared, for sharing their pain and sharing the trauma that they've been through with all of us. It's incredibly difficult to do that, and I'm very grateful for all who was brave enough to stand up and do that. I can't imagine how hard that is. I want to, because I've got the opportunity here, to apologise. I want to apologise on behalf of everybody who has let you down over the years. We've not done enough, and we should be brave enough to say that we've not done enough. And we need to say that we're going to redouble our efforts, that we will listen, that we will act, that we will, this time, do something. Because we owe that to every single person who has lost a loved one. We owe that to every one of the 1,887 people that died last year, to the hundreds that died the year before that, and the year before that. We have to do better. We will do better, and I will do all that I can to make sure that we aren't standing here next year talking about thousands more who have died, because we have done that for far too long, and we need to see change, and we need to see change quickly. And over the past wee while, I have been campaigning for a drug consumption room in the city of Glasgow against the Home Offices and the ministers and all these people that won't want to do anything about it. They won't get out from behind their desk at Westminster and come for a walk and listen to people and actually make change, because they just don't see it. And I am demanding of the UK government that they come here to this city to listen to you and to see why this is so important. So I want to thank everybody for sharing their stories. I will be here with you every step of the way, and we will fight until we make sure that there are no more deaths and people can live a life full of dignity and love, and that this stops and there are no more further people facing the trauma that you have faced. Thank you so much for coming here.
Well, there's one way to hold them account, and that's to make sure that they do their jobs. If you want to know how to hold them account, get in touch with me and I can direct you in some training and help you do that, how to get in touch with them. Any more families want to come up and talk, or anybody else want to come up and say anything, please come up. This is your chance. Get your voice heard. Especially somebody that's thinking, I don't really want to go up, but I've got something to say. There you go.
I don't have any experience of what some of the families have been through, but what I can say is, as a councillor for this city, I'm appalled at the situation that we're in. And just recently, after the last event we had, I had to deal with a case that was, it just showed me about what the rippling effect is, and the young person that spoke earlier, about how it affected their lives, because it's not just about, you know, how do we do need to sort the problem, but the case that I dealt with was the young person was left with no adult family. So I know, and I just want you to know that as an elected member, I've worked cross-party, and we should be listening. Yous are the people we need to listen to, and yeah, 100% you should be at the table, because yous are the ones that can help us to help yous to find a resolution, which we have already done. So I just want you to know we're all on board and we'll all work together. Thank you.
Hi, I was a wee bit apprehensive about coming up here to chat initially. So this is my dad, Paul. I'm Pauline. My dad was died when he was 28 years of age. I was 12 at the time that I lost my dad, and he was found in horrific circumstances. Died of heroin. Was found in Bell Street Hostel. Alone. His body convulsed that hard that every blood vessel is burst. As a young child, I remember cuddling a black and white television screen in a morgue, and that's how I had to say goodbye to my dad. Back then, there wasn't, a lot of services like the ones that are available now. I've been doing a lot of, campaign work with Scottish families affected by drugs and alcohol, and I must say that these guys do a great job, and so do the guys who are working within, Berlin prison and trying to engage guys in recovery. And I think it's sad that even in this day and age that we're still going back to the same thing. We're still talking over the same points, homelessness, mental health, addictions, and nothing is getting done about it, And I think that, like most people that have been up here today are saying, it's not a competition, it is about everybody coming together, using your knowledge. I was quite fortunate in the stance that people used to say to me, well, what do you know? But what I knew is I didn't, go down the route of taking drugs or alcohol that my dad did. But I'll tell you what I did know. I knew his trauma because I lived that every day. I lived the shame. I lived, that I didn't want to invite my friends down to the house because I was too scared about what they would say about, the way that we lived. We were moving houses every 6 months. Couldn't settle down, so I decided myself that when I had my own kids, I went onto the front line to work, and I've watched that. I've worked with guys in homelessness, also work in the front line with guys with addictions, and enough isn't being done, and I think I don't know how that's going to be solved, but I think with everybody that's here today and allowing their voices to be heard, and that different organisations coming together and working as one, then I definitely think that that's going to make a difference, rather than fighting against each other. So, but anyway, thanks for listening.
The drug death crisis in Scotland, a poll was put together, and it was put out on social medias, and it was put out to people who lived the experience of addiction and people that are currently in recovery. And we asked people, what will make this better? Here's what the people says, and we are here to represent the people, not the services. We're here to represent the people. The people asked to be invested in. They want early intervention and prevention, trauma-informed workforces. They want to be actually listened to. Better access and choice to all evidence-based treatment and recovery pathways. Constant availability to facilitated access to mutual aid across the treatment journey. They want continued investment in high-quality OST of optimal dosage and duration. That means they don't want Part-on methadone for 25 fucking years without a care plan. They want to be supported. Invest in long-term rehabs. Don't rip rehabs out the heart of Scotland and Glasgow. Invest in rehabs. More bed availability in rehabs and much higher levels of investment. Accountability from the fucking system that's failing the people. Encourage abstinence with wraparound support. Use a human rights-based approach to destroy labels and silos through advocacy. Support for the whole family, streamline budgets following person not system or silos. And provision of HAP for patients for whom other forms of OST have been ineffective. Lived experience is in George's Square today, and I'm not talking about lived experience 1 or 2 years in recovery. I'm talking about people with long-term experience of what the solutions are in Glasgow and Scotland. Please, I ask you, if you are politicians or MSPs or government officials, please listen to the voices of the people today. 5 months we've waited for the Drug Death Task Force to meet, and we're still waiting. That's not good enough. If we wait another 5 months, we're going to have over 1,300 drug deaths on our hand. If this was anything else, there would be a public health inquiry. Why just let the junkies die? Before I put drugs and alcohol in my system, I was someone. When I put drugs and alcohol down, I am Natalie. I am a person. Today we are here to speak for the people that are not heard. The guys in Glasgow, they're lying in shop front doors with nothing but a sleeping bag. No dignity, no morals, no fucking values, because our government have taken that away, and that's not right, it's not okay. I want my children to grow up in a safer Scotland. I want to know that if my children struggle when they're older, there will be a service there to take their hand and say, son, I will support you. 2 years it took me to get into rehab. 2 years. I was on my hands and knees and I begged GP week after week after week. I attempted suicide twice. 3 times I was put in a locked up ward in section for 28 days because I was unsafe and I was unstable. No one listened, and it took for one care manager with lived experience, might I add. And this care manager had care, compassion and empathy, and she fought my corner, and we need more care managers like that. We need more staff members like that. We need organisations that are going to back each other up and not rip each other down. It's a funding war in Glasgow and it's not fair. Does anybody else want to come and talk? Because I'm just angry now.
My name's Monica, I'm a member of the Scottish Parliament, and it's really hard to follow any of the speakers today, especially Natalie there. Like other politicians that are here, that are in the square, I came to listen, and like you, I'm angry as well that we've got all these strategies, we've got all these action plans, we've got all these promises, and yet people are dying every single day. When I went into politics a couple of years ago, I'd been a local councillor out in Hamilton. I live in Lanarkshire. And one of my life experiences is that I was the daughter of an alcoholic, and my dad died, and I know what it's like to not get help, to feel the shame and the stigma, and to have to keep parts of your life a secret, like a dirty secret. And that has to stop, and today you're having to talk even louder to be heard. That just shows you today's like a big metaphor, but in Parliament there's lots of things debated and talked about, and there's hardly any discussion and debate about the drugs death emergency. It's a public health emergency, it's alcohol as well. But Natalie's right, a task force was announced in March because the government don't want there to be a public inquiry. Well, that task force hasn't even met yet. I'm getting to meet the chair on Friday, and like others that are here, I want to work with anybody. This is not about party politics. So there's no, Parliament's been in recess, we've not been sitting, but I've managed to get cross-party agreement to have a debate in Parliament. It's a week on Thursday, that's the 12th of September, and I hope many of you can maybe come to Parliament that day or let people know. We'll get the details shared, because that's an opportunity to come to the Parliament, but also to speak to MSPs and to talk to the media. And really we need to keep this in the public eye, because we don't know what's going to happen with Brexit and with the Westminster government, but we do know that people are going to keep dying in the streets of Scotland, and enough is enough. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's had the courage to come here today and talk about their experience. It's really hard to keep going and believing that something can happen. I think it's something like 11,000 people, or more than that, have died during the lifetime of the strategy. And that's not to just blame the party that's in government, because all parties have to take some responsibility, whether you're in a council or you're in opposition, it doesn't really matter. People are dying, and it affects our families too, so we need to keep working together. But if you can make it to Parliament for the debate, please come and be represented, and do know that people are listening, and I think all the noise has stopped now, but don't be quiet, please be as loud as you can. Thank you.
Hello. Guys, I'd like to thank everybody for coming along today. We've got a lassie from Ireland going to sing a couple of songs, but I'd like to say something. There was a wee guy here on meth at the last vigil last month, and he went out and died a couple of days later. So we fought for wee Andy, man. Cheers.